Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I like starting off with that nice friendly commercial that Mr. T put together for us. It's so wonderful. It's the season of giving. It's Christmas time, and you may as well give the gift of prepping at thepreparedmind.club. Now enough of that nice shit. Let's get into this. What's really going on, folks? Well, there ought to be public outrage, and there is public outrage. I recently attended a public meeting. Well, it was a gathering of 100 or so people, none of them wearing masks, and it was interesting. I was standing next to two people. I said, "Hey, be careful. We're not social distancing," as a joke. And they said, "Oh, don't worry. We just got our boosters 2 weeks ago." And I thought, you dumb sons of bitches. Anyways, it was quite an interesting meeting. Too bad I can't share all the details, but I'll share little pieces here and there with you guys, because I've got something I think that is even more important to discuss at this time. A court has ordered the Food and Drug Administration to comply with the Freedom of Information Act, right? And they released a big old batch of information. Pfizer did. And this first batch, folks, shows 1,200 Jim Jones juice deaths, not injuries, deaths within the first 90 days. That alone should make your blood boil. Never in my understanding of anything, any testing, is that many people died and they said, "Man, that's a great idea. Let's keep going with that shit." So, right, the request was made, this FOIA request was made by a government accountability group. I don't like that term, a government accountability group, because the name of the group is Public Health and Medical Professionals for Transparency. It has nothing to do with government. It has everything to do with public health and medical professionalism, right? Now, we've seen numerous folks, groups of physicians, doctors, nurses, try and come out and speak publicly. And what happened to them? They got hammered down like a fucking railroad spike, driven into the ground by social media and canceled. It didn't matter that, you know, that these groups, I should say, of doctors that come out, they have each doctor, each nurse, in some cases, decades of medical professionalism, experience, and dare I say, a little bit of wisdom even. Intelligence, applied intelligence, common sense, and they have been silenced. Well, thankfully, and folks, thank God, a court has said, no, we're going to make you release this shit. Remember how Pfizer was asking for 55 years of, hey, this is some important stuff we need to protect? I don't think so. So, yeah, just in the first batch alone, folks, there are over 329 documents that they have. Oh, no, wait, sorry about that. Pfizer has 329,000 documents. That's 1/3 of a million documents pertaining to this Wunda drug. That the only thing I wonder about is why the fuck we're taking it still. Oh, that was pretty good German humor, huh? I wanted to say it with that accent so Dr. Mengele could hear it in his grave. Folks, this is an amazing release of information. Now, I want you to understand this. Public outrage over not only everything else that's happened, but now the release of this information. There should be public outrage, number one. There should be media curiosity as to what is all that about. You mean really that many? And then an investigative journalist would compare the amount of deaths with the Jim Jones juice compared to the amount of deaths with, shall we say, the swine flu drug that came out in the 1970s that killed a handful of people, and lawsuits erupted nationally, and it got pulled and stopped, and they quit that swine flu shit. It was pretty funny at this public event I went to. The speaker said, yeah, it seems like every 4 years we would get some sort of swine flu, right? Or some kind of avian flu. And they finally pulled the trigger, right, on the cerveza bug. Back to this FDA thing. The people are now going to get a bigger taste, but the media should be there. Folks, we're engaged in an information war and a psychological war. It's a technology war. That's what's going on. It's a war to control your mind. And again, this speaker I listened to last night, I was like listening and going, you know what? This guy almost sounds like a philosopher. He's like, this is all fear. It's like, yeah, we're aware of that on the Prepared Mind Network. Fear controls. Fear paralyzes. When you eliminate your fear, you can act. And that is why you need to be prepared, folks. Who cares what anyone else says? Get prepared. Shit times are coming. Right? Not fear. Prep to action. Don't be afraid of what other people think of your opinion. Share it. Get it out there. Right? But the media is hiding this. The media is hiding this. And they're not doing anyone any favors. They're hurting people. The media is. And there should be outrage at them for refusing to look at this information, share it. Because if they did, folks, if the shameless media actually did their job, can you imagine the SHTF nonsense that would all of a sudden be SHTF facts, real facts, not some conspiracy theory, and public outrage would boil over. And this would be done in a day. There would be no more of this part of SHTF. It would be great to take all the surveys and nonsense and just throw it off the table. Just sweep it away and go, that right? The Jim Jones juice, dangerous. Jim Jones juice doesn't stop anything. And we now have treatments that work. Oh yeah, that would be great at that too. But hey, you know. Now, this is interesting. Pfizer is the one who's trying to protect their secret numbers. Well, the FDA challenged the Freedom of Information Act request, and they were told you have to turn over the documents. The lawyers asked the judge to allow them the 55 years to process the request, saying it would only release 500 pages a month. Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, when they passed the Obamacare, right? How many thousands of pages was that? Well, they released it on us like a ton of fucking bricks on our heads and said, you'll comply. Right? Unbelievable. So the doctors, this group filed a motion that would force the FDA to expedite processing, and that's what happened. Right? Now, if the very first release has such damning information that many people died, what else is in there that they don't want us to see? That's one of those kind of inductive reasoning, inductive reasoning exercises we can go through. You think they put out the most dangerous stuff for their cause right out the gate? Why would they do that? It would just attract attention at a time when they don't want attention. But it could just be also that they have media complicity in refusing to do anything. Now, I think one of the things that was noted was the processing of these cases in the first 90 days. We report that I read, we'll get through this here real quick. They reported 1,200 Jim Jones juice deaths within the first 90 days. The processing, I'm going to say the number is much higher, because what they're saying is it takes a long time to process paperwork. Paperwork has to be submitted from not only all over the country, but all over the world. So that number is incredibly short of where it should be. And then you come into the next 90 days, 180 days total. Never seen anything like this, folks. Never seen anything like this. You know, what is it going to take? I have to ask this. What is it going to take for America and the world to say we've had enough of this shit? You know, I was really hoping that all of these soccer players dropping like flies, well, that got a lot of attention. So much so, right? So much so that they actually addressed it and said it's just a coincidence. I don't think so. It's pretty funny when the government has a coincidence, they like to make a federal case out of it, right? For example, the January 6th proceedings that are going on right now. You know, there's violence that occurred, even though the evidence I've seen shows it's the police, the Capitol Police, Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill Police Department were the ones throwing flashbangs, shooting rubber bullets, and beating the fuck out of people. There was no violence coming from the other side. None. Just people trying to be free or get away from the violence. But, you know, they're trying to say that, well, there was violence there. So, you know, it's not a coincidence there. It must be the fault of the protesters. Well, in this case, they're like, well, you know, there's a lot of dead people, but never mind. It couldn't be the other thing that's going on. Like this just came up. 26-year-old rugby star. This is a female rugby star, Scottish rugby star, age 26, rugby star, died suddenly, age 26. Siobhan Cadigan, and I probably mispronounced that because it's a very Scottish fucking name, Cadigan. Now, what I can tell you about rugby, because I played rugby for the Marine Corps, rugby makes American football seem like a picnic because there's no pads, there's no helmets, and it is tackle. And the play doesn't stop after you tackle somebody. You have to intentionally fumble the ball, then someone else picks it up, and you just run them down and beat the shit out of them. Everyone gets the shit beat out of them. Now, if I go to tackle somebody and they pitch the ball to someone else, I was allowed to finish the tackle, meaning everybody is getting tackled every fucking play, and the play continues until it comes to a stop because of a penalty or out of bounds or something. And when you start off, like you have a line of scrimmage in football, well, in rugby you have what's called a scrum, and that's where 6 players on each side lock and then start pressing against each other. And you can hear bones cracking and joints snapping and shit. It was horrifying, folks, and a damn good time. But the point of that story is, and there is a point, is that you are in incredible shape to be a rugby player. Now, Siobhan Cadigan was not a newbie, not someone who was just trying out and had a heart attack from the exertion. She was a star, right? A pro, a professional athlete, an extreme athlete, meaning she was in incredible physical condition. And she just fucking suddenly dies at age 26. I could see a rugby star, you know, dying at age 46 or maybe even 36, right? But 26, prime of her life, keels over. What do you think caused that? Just a question to ask. With all the other strange sports deaths, fucking swimmers, free divers, basketball players, soccer players, football players, baseball players, bicyclists, extreme Scottish rugby players, tennis players, professional athletes around the world, nationalities, races, doesn't matter. Fucking keeling over and dropping out. Why? Oh, and by the way, they're getting paid off too. Because silence isn't violence when it comes to medical fraud on a global scale. When will there be public outrage, folks? I think that public outrage is coming. When enough people die, that enough people can gather together and say, we know what it was. When enough people stop taking the bribe and payout and silence money and start speaking up. When the people start saying, not only no more masks, not only no more passport bullshit, not only no more lockdowns, but they start saying no more of any of this shit. In fact, we want total transparency. We want total freedom back. We want our lives. We want our country and our laws. When we start asking for that, then we can start demanding that. And when we start demanding that, the government can decide at that point and make a decision, right? And see if it makes a different decision than every tyranny that has come before them. And that is, will they stop and back off, or will they keep going? Now, I know the answer to that, folks. The answer is they'll never stop. They'll never back off. They're always going to keep going. But at least America and the world will be awake, and they will be aware, and they will be making their demands for freedom. And then I guess at that point, we'll just have to get it on. But folks, the outrage should be there. And I'm glad that these doctors filed this lawsuit, and I'm glad that they're getting information, and the information is supporting our position. That is, this is a government-made SHTF scenario. No question about it. That they're lying, they're hiding information. Imagine, folks, if they had to be honest. Imagine if the FDA and other other government institutions and agencies actually did their job properly and all this information was poured out. Imagine if the media was honest. That lets you know exactly where we're at. Government dishonest, corporations dishonest, bureaucracy dishonest, news media dishonest. Courts are trying to be honest. Trying. I guess they can continue to try as long as the media keeps things silent. But keep pushing, folks. Share this information. Get that address up there. Get that website address and share this video. And of course, I would like to have you over on Patreon, because there you can get all of the links to all the news stories. You can get video presentations. You can get audio presentations. You can get text presentations of all the information that I'm not allowed to freely, openly, and honestly discuss here. This is what they're up to, folks. They are scouring the media to silence us, scouring high tech to silence us. You can't even find Kyle Rittenhouse t-shirts. You can't even find them on Google because they're hiding it. I mean, they're willing to hide that, right? They're scared, right? And there should be public outrage over what's being done. And I do think it will come. So get prepared now. Hey, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. And one more reminder, right? It is the Christmas season, so give the gift of prepping to yourself as well as others you know. Godspeed, Semper Fi, and I'll talk to you again soon.